I felt the need to break off those close bonds. And reflecting on that, I didn't want my son to have to go through the same experience. So what Danielle and I have always tried to do ever since he was a young child was either have young witness children over to our house so that they could have wholesome association there, or we would, again, go out of our way with a busy schedule to get him rides over to spend time with other spiritual families, and therefore we made sure our son had wholesome spiritual association.
So you do some practical things. Yet there's still the issue, right, so of unbelievers in the neighborhood, the school. I mean, how did you keep Chris on track?
Well, probably a good example is when he was about 4 years old. There were a couple neighbor children who wanted to come over and play with him. And so what Daniel and I did was we encouraged him to get my book of Bible stories out. And so even though he couldn't read at that point, he was able to point to the pictures and explain to these two children the stories. Well, apparently they didn't have a spiritual mindset because after a while they quit coming over. But the benefit to Chris was he had his first experience with Bible studies.
That's a good way to get rid of them. That's good. Well, benefits. Have you enjoyed them as a result?
Well, I'm very thankful to Jehovah for Chris's spiritual progress. And as a result, well, he's up here on the stage with me right now.
Well, that's a benefit. Let's talk to your wife for a minute, Danielle. How have you made some adjustments to keep and put on the Lord Jesus Christ?
Well, since I work full-time and I have a lot of responsibilities at home, it doesn't leave me with a lot of free time. So in order for me to imitate Jesus by putting the kingdom first, I really had to learn to develop a self-sacrificing spirit.
So self-sacrificing. Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, after work, naturally I am very tired, and it is tempting to want to just stay home and relax and watch a TV program or read a good book, but instead I chose to give up some of these non-important activities in my life. That way I could use the time available to me to have a more active share in the ministry.
Excellent. Well, we want you to have some good times, too. We appreciate your sacrifice. But what benefits do you think you enjoyed?
Well, I can truly say that the more time I spend in the ministry, the more blessings I receive, and the more I enjoy it. I've been able to start new Bible studies, and I was also privileged to see one of my Bible studies dedicate their life to Jehovah.
Well, that is a real benefit, isn't it? Let's talk to Christopher, your son. Now, your parents have talked about what they've done to help you, have the man under Christ. I mean, they couldn't tell us everything. However, just going to school, that has to be a challenge, as a witness. How have you dealt with that?
Well, I've made it a point to identify myself as one of Jehovah's Witnesses to all my teachers and classmates. And this has put me in a position to act like one of Jehovah's Witnesses at all times. And others have noticed my Christ-like behavior, and this has opened up opportunities for me to inform a witness.
So basically, right off the bat, you just say, I'm a witness, and then you just got to live up to it. Coach on. Can't take it off. How about, you talk about informal witnessing, have you had any good experiences because you saw the Lord Jesus Christ?
Yes, there was one girl that I had been informal witnessing to off and on for the better part of 2 years. And one day I said something that particularly caught her interest. And after school that day, we were able to discuss the Bible for about an hour. And further later that week, she inquired about our meetings. So I invited her to join our family that Sunday at a meeting. And so we picked her up and took her to her first meeting. There she met a pioneer sister who promptly started to study with her. And that was back in spring. And today, despite the opposition of her parents, she is still studying. And she's even been witnessing to friends and family members and has taken some of them to the meeting with her. And now she's making it a goal so as to start coming to the meetings more regularly.
My goodness, that's very good. Well, I want to get back to you for a second. Now, we talked about what you've done for the family, especially your son. But how have you made it possible for all to continue to have the manner of the Christ, the new personality?
Well, besides family Bible study, regular meeting attendance, and weekly participation in field service, one of the scriptures that always touched my heart was in Jehovah's Law in Deuteronomy, where it talks about that we as parents should be teaching our children, whether we're sitting in the home or walking on the street. So consequently, one of the things I always tried to do is, like when I'm giving Chris a ride maybe to school or going to the store, we would have discussions. I would bring up maybe something we saw in the news, political events or social problems, and we would discuss together as father and son how Jehovah's kingdom is going to do a better job or is already doing better through Jehovah's organization than this system is doing. So it basically kept alive in our minds Jehovah's kingdom and his purpose.
So it kept the truth alive in everybody's heart, too, that way. Now, Chris, before we go, Can you tell us what are your goals?
Currently, I'm making an effort to learn Spanish, and I plan on joining the congregation when I turn 18. And also, when I'm done with high school, I'm planning on entering the full-time pioneer work. And when I'm done with any further education, I'm hoping that I'll be able to attend the ministerial training school, and from there go with Anita's Grace, possibly outside of the U.S.
That's it? I have to tell you, friends, when we first did this part and I asked him that question, it was even more. We're coming down. We'd like to thank the Roman family for their time.